I want to talk a little about mantra. Max and Jeroen will get an insight as to the day yesterday. A lot of knowledge was shared, and I think a lot of people had those moments where that shift of perspective started to change. There was a shift in how you view your mind. The mind that is often seen as the problem, as the enemy, as the thing you have to do something with, the ghost you have to either throw in the cupboard, or you have to control it somehow, or you have to grab it. You have to be in relation to it. I think we started to recognize, who am I? What is the nature of I? As opposed to the constant obsession with what is the nature of my personal self, which is the mind story. So in order to talk about mantra and the relevance of mantra and how it can be so useful, yesterday we spoke a lot about the nature of the problem. What is the nature of the problem? And what is the mind's view that sees problem? For example, with Katharina, just to have that moment where she realizes, my sense of rushing is just a story I've been telling myself. There's actually no end to activity, and yet, without knowing it, I've taken on a fairy tale, a false belief that if I do everything, if I rush through everything, then there will be a day of peace. And we see that this is absolutely just a false story of the mind. So yesterday we explored a lot of false stories. I think some of you came to see your own false story. And we suffer due to a false story. In other words, it is not our true nature to suffer. It is not our true nature to suffer. So today I want to shift the focus. I had said a word to Katharina. We want to counteract. How do you say that word in German? Counteract. Okay. When the energy has, for how many ever years we have been in these bodies, has been focused, I am what I think, I am what I feel, I am what I do, I am what other people expect of me, I am what I expect of myself, all that we explored yesterday, that I am is of describing the personal self. And the constant describing of your personal self creates that iceberg identification. Yesterday, Max and Jeroen, we spoke about how the ice cube is frozen, but its nature is water. Yet we describe it with another word. We don't say it's water. We say it's ice cube, meaning it's given shape, it's given description, and it has a purpose to make things cold, to make your drinks cold. So this waking state that we identify with from morning till night, the waking state that says, I am the waking state, is describing your physical functioning purpose. It's half the story, has to be, because it only exists half of your time. When you're asleep, it's not there. So it can only be the half the story. So that describing quality of yourself as the waking state is saying, I am the ice cube. It is fixed. It is a fixed identity. It is a limited realm. It has limitations. So when you're identified with the ice cube, there's going to be a fear that it can melt. Because if ice cube melts, what will it be? It won't be an ice cube anymore. But when it melts, we can understand it's remained whatever it is. It's always been water. And that's happening every night that we go to sleep. That ice cube melts. Every night when we sleep, our waking state identity melts into sleep. And when that fixed, solid, frozen identity of I am what I think, I am what I do, I am what other people expect of me, I am my ambitions, I am my desires, I am my expectations of how this beautiful existence should be, when that melts, what is it? Peace. When you're asleep, you're at peace. So absence of waking state is not nothing. Absence of waking state is peace. But is the purpose of our incarnation just to sleep and then to take on a worrisome, fearful, worried, confused, anxious state called waking state, with some pleasure thrown in between to kind of soften the blow, to distract you? Is this the purpose? If it is, then live that. But everyone who has come here, basically meaning everyone who is interested in meditation, wants to go beyond the limitation of that little solid, confined identity, the frozen state of the waking state. Now, if we can't sleep all the time, and we have these bodies that wake up without my doing, sometimes without my wish, we wake. How can we now bring peace into our waking state? We have to shift the identification, which is to bring in the knowledge of our true nature. What is your true self, your true nature, as opposed to what is your waking state identity? So I use the word counteract. The mantra, the repetition of a mantra, and all mantras are describing your true nature. This counteracts the description of your waking state identity. So does the word work now, this counteracting, or should I find another English word? It's fine. Can you say it in German, the word? Yeah, counteract. If the pendulum has swung this far here, then it is not a free state. So to have a healthy mind, to have a healthy sense of being, we have to have this flexibility. You're not fixed. So to take the pendulum and just hold it here is a fixed state. Then you're going to be in a state of tension. You have to be in a state of worry, tension, fear. If you're holding the pendulum, which by nature is always, nature is to move. So what is that movement? It is the constant rounding, waking, dreaming, sleeping, waking, dreaming, sleeping, day, night, hot, cold, alone, with people. Everything that is what we experience is actually in a constant cycle or a constant swing. It's moving. We are dynamic beings. Nothing is fixed. And yet, for God knows what reason, we don't accept this change, and we try and fix our lives. We fix our identity. So if you have it's very easy to be able to observe where your fixed identity is, because if someone says something about you that doesn't fit your little box, then watch what happens. Actually, even children, there's a phase in childhood, they're really starting to identify with their name, just the name, because even their name at one point meant nothing to them. When they're lying in the bed, just totally like a 3-month-old baby looking at the mother. The mother starts to say the name, Katharina, Katharina, and you take on that name. And then there's a phase in childhood, I think around 3 or 4, they start playing with their names. But when you're older, like I have a name, Rebecca, I also have an Indian name, Shikha. If you call me Rebecca, you call me Shikha, doesn't really bother me, because I'm not so identified with my name. But if you say I'm a nice person, I'm going to feel good. If you say I'm a very horrible person, I'm going to not like that. Some spiritual teacher says, oh, just let it go. Just let it go. And then what happens? You get another bad feeling. I can't let it go. I'm not doing meditation properly because I'm not letting it go. And then you feel really bad about yourself. Just let it go. Is there nothing more annoying when you're upset about something, or someone, and someone just tells you, yeah, just let it go. Yeah, exactly. And I looked over your questions this morning, and a lot of the questions were basically the how-to question. I know it, but how? So there's no quick route to the how. Well, I mean quick as in there's no bypass. There's only one route. You have to counteract the description of yourself. That's it. And it can happen in a moment, and does happen in a moment, but you have to do it again and again, that the description of your true self becomes stronger than the habit of describing yourself as a waking state being. You have to shift the identification, that it becomes balanced, whole, complete. It doesn't mean I reject my personal self. I still have the conditioning that I came from New Zealand. I still have this accent. I still have this hair. I still have these habits. Everything is there, but it's not the full picture. I know it's only a part of me. How to bring the part into the whole of you. Because then there's no issue of letting go. You have now expanded your identity to know that you are whole. What is whole is healed. I think the word in Latin is the same, Gudrun, isn't it? Or to heal is to be whole. Contemplate now, when you know that you are complete, where do you need to improve? What do you need outside of yourself to complete you? Nothing. That's a state of peace. Peace is not a feeling, and this is another misconception. Going to feel peaceful. And you go to some meditation groups, everyone's speaking in really gentle voices and wearing white and kind of floating and talking about peace. And that's all nice. But then you have a thought, oh, I should keep that very quiet so that I don't look like I'm not peaceful. Then the guilt comes. Then the pressure comes. The spiritual guilt. It's nothing worse than spiritual guilt. It's worse than religious guilt, worse than human guilt, worse than society's guilt. Spiritual guilt. So peace is not a feeling. Peace is absence of the imagination that you are incomplete. Then when you know that you are complete, you can flow also. It's cold weather, put on a sweater. It's warm weather, take off the sweater. Now it seems obvious, but now everything is like weather. Moods are like weather, they're changing. Thoughts are like weather, they are changing. So why can we not adapt to thinking and feeling also, like we do to the weather? So flexibility comes naturally when you know that you are whole and complete. The flexibility to know how to act. When someone speaks to you in such a way that you have to respond, you have a sense of yourself vaster than just what will be the ego reaction of the ice cube. Identifying with that little part of yourself, you're going to always bump up to ego bumping up with ego. Someone says something to you, you'll react. You'll defend, or you will retract, or you will act somehow that doesn't feel good. Some reaction, however you react. We all know our reactions. So we see all of this in ourselves. So the how-to question, and later today we'll return to this question, what do you want? So we can complete this weekend and revisit that. But for now, revisiting it, a lot of you were asking, but yes, I know, but how to bring it into my life? We have to counteract the habit of describing yourself as a waking state being, as a personal self. Personal self is described in the waking state only. I am what I think, I am what I feel, I am what I have been told I am bound to shoulds and shouldn'ts, I am bound to the conditions of what pleases me and what doesn't please me, my physical preferences. All that is of the personal self. So we're going to take a little time now to explore, inquire, explore, expand, and evolve. When you are fully evolved, fully matured, it means you are complete and whole within yourself. That is the evolve. How can we evolve peace in our lives? That will be the counteracting force from the ego that is reacting in our lives. What is wisdom? The ability not to react, to defend your personal self. How's it going so far, Max? Good. Following? It resonates with you somehow? Good. These guys are young, but they can still understand what we're talking, and they haven't maybe lived all the troubles and difficulties that we have lived, but they're in an advantage because they're so aware that they see it. If they don't see it in themselves, they for sure observe it in the adults. And they're now at a young stage where their ice cube is not so firm, their ice cube is not so solid, which means their identification as a waking state, personal self, is not so crystallized. What's the word crystallized in German? Set. Set. So their melting process will be a little easier. So we're going to melt by using the mantra. And I'm going to share, many of you who were here last time know this mantra. It's a beautiful mantra. It's in Sanskrit. It's a very powerful vibration. Amaram ham, madhuram ham. And I'll tell you the meaning, because when we repeat the mantra, it becomes so automatic, it takes on its own energy to be repeated, and no problem. And the momentum of the mantra is the very counteracting force. And then we bring in the manan, the contemplation that we talked about yesterday, how we have to contemplate this knowledge, not just think it's like an intellectual exercise that tell me something and I get it. This is not a getting of the intellect. This is an expanding to see yourself more than what you have been conditioned to believe. The word amar means that which cannot be destroyed. So what is that which cannot be destroyed? That which is eternal, ever-present, unchanging. What is that force, that power, that energy, that reality, that realm which cannot be destroyed, which cannot be cut, which cannot be divided, which cannot be burnt, which cannot be crushed? It is the very power of this creation, the very life force The body dies, but life does not die with the body. Otherwise, when one body died, all life would die. What is that eternal presence? Pure consciousness, pure existence, which is the generating force of all this that manifests, including our thoughts, our feelings, ourselves, our personal selves. That is Amar, unable to be destroyed. So Amaram Ham. The word Ham means I am. I am. Many mantras have this Ham. Because that you've been telling yourself, I am, the description of the waking state, the description of your body, the description of your mind, the description of the expectations from society, from your families, from your parents. You don't have to reject this. Now, instead of just this, on this side, expand. I am this, eternal, indestructible, unchanging, ever-present presence. But because presence has no form that we can measure, that we can weigh, there's no weight to it, there's no form. So you can't measure its dimension, unlike the person. It's all about measuring. How do I measure up? Am I less than them and I'm more than them? Am I better than them? Am I less than them? This measuring sense of the personality is gripping a person in smallness, insecurity, and fear. Do I measure up? And they've graded that measuring according to how it is reflected back to you, as opposed to how you want to live your life. Because we are only associating with the consciousness, with the realm that is that can be measured. Expand your understanding, expand your knowledge now to include that which cannot be measured and yet exists. Because things cannot come out of nothing. It's impossible. Matter doesn't exist without energy. So we call this the cup, and it has a description, a name and a description. The description is a vessel for drinking. But in truth, it's earth. It is the shape of earth. But we don't call it earth, we call it a cup. But the true existence of a cup is earth. So similarly, we've been shaped, like earth, into a kind of vessel. But what is the true nature? Ever-present, unchanging, unable to be destroyed, consciousness, existence, pure. That is the meaning of Amaram. Ham, I am that. And if you find it hard to say I am because you're too identified with I am this body only, I am this mind only, then say I is. Because the I, before it associates with body, is pure. Because every person says I. Even every animal is saying I'm hungry, in their own way. So is this I personal? If everyone is saying I, then how can the I be associated with the personal? So if you find it hard to identify I am eternal, unchanging, ever-present, you can say I is. As soon as you put is, it makes it not personal. So either way you can say it, I is, unchanging, or you can say I am. That is when the identification really becomes whole and complete, when you accept your full and complete nature. So this is where the meditation, the focus of the meditation is. Otherwise you're just sitting doing a technique, which is fine. It's great to watch the breath, and even repeating the mantra is a technique. but you have to know why you are doing it. You are doing it to counteract the identification from the small to the full and complete. In this wholeness of yourself, the result is madhuram. Madhur is bliss. Now, as I said yesterday, I think, bliss is not a feeling, it's not an experience. Bliss is the absence of pain and suffering and struggle. So you can say bliss is freedom. I am free. I am free from what? I'm not free from having to do the dishes. I will always have to do the dishes. I'm not free from having to dress this body when I wake up in the morning. I have to dress the body. I am not free from hunger. And this is also an interesting point. When we know that we cannot change something, we accept it. I cannot change hunger. Look now, when we observe hunger, we fulfill the hunger, and yet we get hungry again. And when we get hungry again, we never say, oh, I failed. I failed at breakfast. Because now I have to have lunch. And then you have lunch. And then after lunch, oh my God, I'm hungry again. I failed again. It's absurd, right? We accept the hunger and the fulfillment and the hunger and the fulfillment and the hunger and the fulfillment is the nature of the waking state. We accept also winter and summer. I don't go out in a swimsuit in the winter. And I don't go out in a big coat in the summer. We adjust and we accept. Why can we not accept the nature of the waking state, knowing what it is, knowing that it's ever seeking to fulfill itself? So rather than chasing it to fulfill it in all that which is given to you in the waking state, fulfilling other people's expectations of you, fulfilling your to-do list, fulfilling your image of yourself, fulfilling your desires, fulfilling your whatever. We know it. That is endless. Knowing it is endless. It's an endless hunger. See it for what it is. The antidote to that hunger is know that you are complete. The how-to question that many of you ask, you cannot answer the how-to question from the energy or from the consciousness that is of the waking state. The waking state consciousness, which is ever hungry, ever seeking to fulfill itself. That's what the hunger truly is. I want to know that I am complete, and in that complete, I am free from fear, free from insecurity, free from worry, free from a sense of division between me and others. This is what we are born to discover. And we are right there. All of us are there to discover this. It just needs a little expansion to know to give some attention to your true self, your true nature, which is already eternal, ever present, unchanging, and free from suffering, free from struggle, free from expectations, free from hunger. That is madhuram. So let's close our eyes. Because understanding this is the first step. Hearing the knowledge, seeing that knowledge playing out in your life. And now we have to do the practice. Gently repeat inside. Amaram ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham. Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham. Madhuram Ham. When you first start to repeat it, you will likely speak inside or repeat inside quite quickly, because it's the counteracting force of the waking state, which is of activity. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham, Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. This brings the attention now starting to draw inward. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham, Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Now as you start to settle and that activity of the mind starts to slow down in your own time, you will feel to repeat the mantra a little slower. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Keep the attention repeating the mantra at the pace that holds that attention there. And watch how, as you sit and repeat the mantra, it will become more subtle and slower. And then you will start to observe there is space between the repetition of the mantra. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. All kinds of thoughts will come as you are repeating the mantra. Don't mind them. They weave in and out. They come, they go. Some stay for some time, some others go quickly. Don't mind the thoughts. Stay with repeating the mantra in a rhythm and a pace that you feel naturally from inside. There's no right way to do it, no wrong way to do it. Just find your own inner voice. This inner voice is singing the mantra of your true nature. The mind will not accept initially. It will doubt, because that's its nature. That's okay. Just as hunger comes and you accept, doubt comes, accept. That's the nature of the waking state mind. It resists, it doubts, it concludes, and it comments. It has a great commentary. Let that be. This is its habit. This is its nature. Keep repeating. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. Amaram Ham, Madhuram Ham. And slowly, like that ice cube melting, the mind starts to melt. It doesn't need to go away entirely, but it loses its grip on your attention. It starts to release that fixed, frozen grip on you. And you can start really exploring the depth of the meaning of this mantra. I am this eternal knowing, this eternal space of being. Amaram ham, madhuram ham, amaram ham, madhuram ham. Observe the space also, out of which the space, like a wave, has sung this most beautiful sound. Amaram ham, madhuram ham, and dissolves into that same space. Amaram ham, madhuram ham. Space, ever present, indestructible, unchanging, and free. Amaram ham, madhuram ham. Amaram ham, madhuram ham. The space is not nothing. It is pure consciousness, pure existing, pure being, pure knowing. It is Amar, indestructible, ever present. Ham, this is who you are. This is the full and entire, complete you. It takes some practice to truly accept this truth, this song of your own being, this song of your true nature. Amaram ham, madhuram ham. There's no shoulds or shouldn'ts in the space. There's nothing that should be or should not be. It is all-inclusive, all-encompassing space of awareness, of being. Amaram ham, madhuram ham. You may feel your heart beating or some sensation in your body. The mind may become afraid of the ice cube melting. But know that you are this space of awareness You are not in the body. Body is within you. So the heart is in the body body is within you, indestructible, ever-present, unchanging being. Space, expansion. Whatever sensations come to the body, whatever thoughts come to the mind, know that they are simply waves in your space of awareness.